Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are unraveling a truly massive financial scandal, one that has literally taken the media by storm. Right at the center of it all is Satyavati Rathoid. Now, you probably know her as the beloved folk singer Mangli. She's famous for her chart-topping hits and a really deep connection to her roots. But recently, well, she and her family have found themselves tangled up in this dizzying microfinance fraud investigation. We're talking frozen bank accounts, death threats, and a war of words that's just completely divided public opinion. Our goal today is to strip away all that noise. We're going to look strictly at the documented claims from both sides to lay out the actual facts.
And right off the bat, the sheer scale of the confusion here is just staggering. Depending on which news outlet you're reading, the amount of missing money fluctuates wildly. I mean, some formal complaints peg the missing funds at around 10 crore rupees. But then if you listen to statements from community leaders like the Girijana Jack president, the allegations absolutely balloon to a staggering 150 crore scam. That is a massive discrepancy. It really highlights just how muddy the waters are right now, and honestly, why it's so crucial for us to pay close attention to how these celebrity-linked situations unfold.
So it really begs the big question. How did a beloved folk icon, an artist who built her entire career on being a self-made woman of the people, get tangled up in a massive financial scam? Is she the mastermind of a fraudulent scheme using her celebrity status, or is she the victim of a coordinated extortion attempt designed to ruin her hard-earned reputation?
To figure this out, here's our agenda for today. We're going to break down 1. The allegations, 2. The countercomplaint, 3. The financial paper trail, 4. Media discrepancies, and finally, number 5. The celebrity defense. Let's get into it. Starting with Section 1, the allegations, high returns and death threats. Let's look at the accusers, specifically Advocate Singapogo Subarao, who filed a formal police complaint on behalf of several supposedly defrauded clients. Okay, so let's break down the actual mechanics of this alleged fraud. According to the first information report filed at the Panjagutta police station, the accusers are claiming that Mangli, her brother Shiva, and a man named Ramavath Madhu lured around 100 to 150 middle-class investors into a scheme. This was operating under the name Gokula Nandana Infra India PVTLT. And the pitch? Well, they allegedly promised these massive 3 to 5% monthly returns. They told investors the funds would go into film, real estate, and import-export trading. But the investors are claiming that not only did those profits completely dry up, but their original principal investments? Yeah, those were never returned either.
Now, this didn't just stay a simple financial dispute. It allegedly escalated into some pretty severe criminal intimidation. As reported by the New Indian Express, when Advocate Subarao actually tried to get his client's money back, he claims he was called to a meeting where they pressured him to back down. When he refused, he alleges Mangli abused him and even threatened his life. And it gets more chilling. He claims Mangli got on a phone call with the prime accused, Ramavath Madhu, and her brother Shiva, and Shiva allegedly threatened that he would literally kill the advocate in a staged road accident.
Which brings us to Section 2, the counter-complaint, blackmail and defamation. Because Mangli didn't just sit back and take this. She launched a really fierce legal counterattack.
This split right here brilliantly illustrates the complete deadlock we're looking at. On one side, you've got the Panjagutta police station FIR against Mangli, investigating cheating and criminal conspiracy. But on the other side, you have the Narsingji police station FIR filed by Mangli against the advocate. She's accusing him of extortion by threat, defamation, and insulting her modesty. So this financial dispute has basically morphed into an all-out, two-sided legal war where both parties are claiming the other is committing some very serious crimes.
Let's clarify exactly what Mangli is alleging in her countercomplaint. She claims this entire narrative is just a deliberate misinformation campaign. Specifically, she alleges that Advocate Subarao used a manipulated, totally fake video, one that supposedly showed her with large sums of cash, to extort money from her. Her legal team is asserting that when she flat-out refused to be blackmailed, the advocate went straight to the media just to ruin her career.
All right, moving on to Section 3, the financial paper trail, the objective evidence. With both sides trading such intense accusations, the police have had to look past all the he said, she said, and examine the actual hard data.
Let's walk through this timeline because it builds a very suspicious picture. According to police findings reported by Mana Telugu and the outline media, the primary accused, the guy who actually collected the funds, is Ramavath Madhu. But here's where it directly connects to the singer's family. Investigators traced 3 separate deposits totaling nearly 1 crore rupees transferred directly from Madhu's account into the bank account of Shiva, Mangli's brother. And what makes this incredibly suspicious to investigators is the timing. That 1 crore was reportedly withdrawn on the exact same day it was deposited. Because of this rapid movement, the Cyberabad police have actually stepped in and frozen Madhu's accounts.
So, the absolute crucial question the police are trying to answer right now is this. If Mangli and her family are completely uninvolved in this microfinance scheme, just like she claims, why on earth was 1 crore rupees transferred from the prime accused to her brother's account and then instantly withdrawn? Honestly, this is the most damning piece of objective evidence that the family currently has to explain to the authorities.
This leads us to Section 4, Media Discrepancies, a narrative divided. Because when you have a case with fake video claims, frozen accounts, and huge celebrity status, media coverage gets complicated fast.
Notice how wildly different news outlets are covering the exact same story. You've got the Times of India and the Bangalore Mail reporting this as a 10-crore dispute, strictly noting Mangli's formal, written legal denials. But then, look at IM India. They are centering their reporting around tribal leaders who claim the scam is actually 150 crore, and they're framing Mangli as someone who is actively misleading the public just to shield her brother. Meanwhile, you have outlets like Maha News highlighting her highly emotional, passionate on-camera interviews. The media landscape here is totally fractured, which makes it incredibly hard for the public to figure out what the actual truth is.
To understand what actually matters in court, we really need to look at the law itself. Mangli and the others are booked under BNS Section 318, which actually replaced the famous IPC Section 420. Basically, this is the law for cheating. But here's the absolute key takeaway. To actually secure a conviction, the police can't just prove a breach of contract or a bad investment. They must prove fraudulent intent from the very beginning of the transaction. They literally have to prove the accused never intended to pay the investors back from day one.
And that brings us to Section 5, the celebrity status defense, protecting a persona. How exactly is Mangli defending herself against the idea that she had fraudulent intent?
Well, Mangli is leaning heavily into her public image. In a really passionate interview with Maha and News, she fired back at her accusers, saying, "I am not a robot. They want Big Boss fame. I rejected crores in political money." She is actively framing the people accusing her as opportunists, people who are just trying to use her name for cheap publicity and TV fame. She argues that, hey, if she really wanted money, she could have easily just taken massive political payouts during the elections.
Furthermore, she's issued formal statements, like the one reported in the Bangalore Mail, where she is completely distancing her professional life from the accused's personal businesses. She states very clearly that she and her brother are only approached by these individuals for professional stage events and community programs, nothing more.
And this quote brilliantly illustrates the core of her defense. She says, "I haven't forgotten my roots. Why would I hit the stomachs of the people I came from?" She is heavily leveraging her deeply ingrained persona as a woman of the people. She's asking the public, and honestly, perhaps the investigators too, to look at her character. Why would an independent, self-made artist steal from the very middle-class community that elevated her to fame in the first place?
To quickly summarize her direct rebuttals to the evidence floating around out there. First, she claims the viral video showing her brother counting cash is a total fake. It's not him. Second, she asserts she only knows the prime accused Madhu casually through Banjara community cultural programs. Third, she insists the accusers are just trying to get famous off her name. And fascinatingly, fourth, she states she has never even considered herself a celebrity, just an artist doing her job.
But of course, public statements are one thing, and the law is another. Right now, the Cyberabad police are actively probing all the bank records, digging deep into that 1 crore transfer, and analyzing both of these conflicting FIRs. Ultimately, they are the ones tasked with untangling this whole shebang and uncovering the truth behind the Gokulanandana infra scheme.
Which really leaves us with this final thought. When celebrity trust is weaponized, whether that's by a star misusing their influence or by scammers illegally using an artist's name, how can everyday investors separate the artist they love from the investment they are being sold? It is a dangerous mix of fame and finance, and this case is far from over. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep your eyes on the facts, and I'll see you next time.